Alright, this is Paul Needs a Friend, once again with another installment of Calling from the Underground. Today, I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, with Destroy Nate Allen. Now, Destroy Nate Allen, can I call you Nate for short?
That's fine, Paul.
Okay. What's interesting about Nate is he can book tours on the fly. He's been in the underground industry for a while. Industry, what do you want to call it? Underground world for quite some time, and working for almost a decade, you said?
Yeah, this fall's a decade. So.
And you've had a lot of success. Even the last tour you did actually even ended up being able to book almost 30 shows last minute while you're on the road, like 3 or 4 days in advance. Using an interesting thing, Myspace. Most people know Myspace for spam, bands that go on there and just like want to try to get more friends and try to build up the popularity that way. And it can be annoying for a lot of the other people on Myspace. But now Nate told me about a way a few weeks ago about how you can use Myspace to actually book tours for yourself and search. Do you want to tell them a little bit about how you might be able to do that?
Yeah, if Myspace has a feature for shows where you can find out pretty much any local venue of anyone who's listed their show on Myspace. You can do a zip code search. So say you want to get a show in Portland, you do a 97206 and say search within 50 miles, and you get every show that's listed on Myspace within 50 miles, which is pretty much speaking every venue.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is either search Myspace for that venue or Google search the venue, and you pretty much without fail can get their phone number and contact info to be able to get a hold of them. And oftentimes you can just even send over an email via Myspace, and they'll at least be able to start correspondence with you that way. So
that's great, because a lot of people out there, young people and even older people, don't realize that it's very easy. Not easy, but it takes a lot of work. But it's very possible to book your own, like DIY it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it seems kind of like a fantasy or kind of like a pipe dream that doesn't really work. Either you get signed to a major label or you sit in the basement and play covers. But you do original music, I do original music. We both live on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And so when did you realize that, like, what was the turning point when you realized I can actually get out of the basement and I don't need to rely on anyone but myself to share my music with the world?
Well, I think I spent a lot of time doing like booking shows and booking tours for other people before I ever played for myself.
Okay.
And so, kind of growing up around Oregon and the Northwest, have a decent amount of bands that are doing things themselves. And so, a lot of my friends went on to sign to labels, but before that, they pretty much were all self-funding their own tours. So I pretty much knew that it was possible. It's just more of a mindset than anything. Like, if you're willing to live, below poverty and learn to be good with communication, I think booking a tour is relatively just being assertive with how you do business.
And have good people skills.
Yeah.
And being not afraid of people.
Yeah.
And not seeing it as any sort of manipulation. I think a lot of people, they feel like, oh, I'm just an artist and I'm not, a businessman.
Yeah.
They don't want to be, which I think is a big mistake, because, your business is you, right? And you can't feel ashamed for that, or you can't feel above it. A lot of people feel above it. I'm above the business. I want to, get someone else to do that for me. But it's a beautiful thing, because the business is not just straight business. It's actually making contacts, new people. You get to know new people in different parts of the world. You get to see different parts of the world and see it from the real inside out, not just from a stage in a hotel.
Totally. I think that musicians who are opposed to the business aspect or ignore the side of the business aspect are really set themselves up for trouble, because A, you won't be able to pay for what you do, and B, it's not a sustainable way to live. Pretty much every band needs someone who is good at business, and if they don't, it's a really bad cycle to fall into. And approaching it that way, it's not, even if you're an anarchist or you're in just strictly DIY, there's still a need to pay your gas money, and there's still a need to eat.
Yeah.
And maybe not much more, but it's business, and you need to approach it as that way, even if you feel like you're not running a business, you're just playing music.
Exactly, yeah. Just keep the positive mindset and don't try to because people put that word business. It's got a very negative connotation,
Yeah.
especially in our being anarchists and our kind of the people we deal with too. Those are bad words, bad buzzwords. Which brings me to an interesting. I think we're in one of the most interesting times to play music in, and I'm really happy I have the opportunity to do this because everything is changing with technology, and we see that the big the big deal being discovered and everything else is slowly losing its charm, and you can't really make money off of records the way you used to. Everyone's getting downloading things, and things are being forced into the live show again, and that's a beautiful thing. And you played an amazing show tonight, and you really communicate with the crowd. You're in there with the crowd. You're touching them. You're singing to them. You're like serenading every person in the crowd, and really making the live show, making the audience a part of the experience. And so it's everyone's show. It's there's no stage, and it's a great thing. And I feel like I do something very similar, though in a different style. I feel the live show and that communication, that person-to-person communication, is very important. And I think you do too. How does that relate to your music? I mean, do you feel how does that speak to you about the new, like, having to get out on the road more these days, where you can't just make a record and try to sell that we need to be on the road and giving that, because you can't buy that experience. You can't download that experience for free. You can buy a DVD. But it's not going to have you in the face and the sweat and everything else and your passion.
No, I think I like the state of where the industry's heading. I wish it felt a little more sustainable financially, because things don't sell the way they used to. But it does make me excited that I think you will find that even through the Myspace bands, the good live bands will rise to the top. Because I just went to a music festival a couple weeks ago, and there was dozens or maybe hundreds of bands that sounded similar. And I'd say the only bands out of that group that will be remembered, not by me but by the people that were watching them intricately, are the bands that were good live, that did something special. And I mean, if you can in some way break down the barrier between the artist and the fan, and realize that we're all equals, we're all just people, that I think that is probably the key. The best bands I've seen are able to break that wall and communicate to every person in the room as they were the only person in the room.
Exactly.
And so I think that's
it's a beautiful thing, and that's
fun.
And that's an experience I think people should be trying to sell as businessmen. Don't don't be trying to sell the record. Don't think of the record deal. Don't think of an independent label. Think of your live show. Make that as magical as you can. And people will feel it when you get out on the road and you start playing. People remember you. And I know that from my experience. I'm sure you know it from your experience. That people never forget you when you give them a show that it gives them goose flesh, or makes them makes them feel like part of something. Inspires them to feel bigger than they are. All right. Well, I thank you for hanging out and sharing your ideas. I hope you all out there. Take these tactics that he shared with us on Myspace, and some of these ideas and philosophies, and use them to promote your music and to bring new music into your life from other underground bands. Now, if people want to get a hold of you to book you and your wife's band or act, or if they want maybe help with pointing them in the right direction to get shows, or how would they contact you?
You can catch us on Myspace, myspace.com/DestroyNateAllen, or you can go to our website, destroynateallen.com. There's actually 10 records you can download for free on there.
Okay.
And just get a hold of us. We have a lot of email, and it's all pretty accessible on those two formats. And we tour regularly, and we live in Oregon, so if we're not on the road, we're here. So come talk to us and set something up. Okay, that's Destroy Nate Allen. Okay, and once again, I'm Paul Needs a Friend. You can check out my stuff at paulneedsafriend.com. Paul needs it with a Z or a Z. And we'll see you in the next edition of Calling from the Underground. Thanks, Nate. Thank you.